Welcome to the Yucaipa 360 podcast, episode number 4, Halloween special, featuring the world famous live Oak Canyon pumpkin patch. All right, episode number 4 of Yucaipa 360. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's getting a little spooky around here, and I'm not just saying that because it is election season. But if you live in Yucaipa or you know anything about Yucaipa, you know that every fall something huge happens here in our city, and it is what has to be the most amazing pumpkin patch on the face of the earth. It's a major attraction here. Of course, whenever you have a major attraction, that comes at a cost too, and has created some concerns over the years with some residents. And the operators of the pumpkin patch in the city have been working hard together to address those issues, to make this an amenity that everyone loves, and that Yucaipa residents are happy to host. And I think we've made tremendous progress on that front. We are really fortunate here today to have you gentlemen with us. I think, everyone who lives in Yucaipa drives by that pumpkin patch. Everyone who drives through Yucaipa looks at that pumpkin patch. But not a lot of people know the story of that property and the people who are involved with that property. So we're very fortunate to have with us here today one of the two owners of the pumpkin patch, Chris Rameson.
Yes.
Chris and Tyler together own that property. Chris, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Also, Tony Hicks. Tony is very involved with that property. Does a lot of work on the property, and I'll leave it to you later to kind of describe the.
No one knows.
No, it's a big mystery in town, but everyone knows. Also, if you need something having to do with that property, reach out to Tony Hicks. Tony, really happy to have you here as well. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Yeah. We have Assistant City Engineer Landon Kern with us as well. Landon has spent a lot of time on the city's behalf working with the pumpkin patch on some of the issues. Having, for example, traffic flow that has been a big issue, and safety issues, and we'll get into that in detail as we go along here. We're also really blessed to have Willie Palmer with us, who will be joining us at the table momentarily here. Willie and her late husband, Greg, owned that property for decades and started the pumpkin patch operations. So it'll be neat to hear from her some of the history, and then talk a little bit about the transition to the Ramesons and how that came about. So the Live Oak Canyon Pumpkin Patch and Christmas Tree Farm is really an iconic destination here in Yucaipa. Is it the largest pumpkin patch in Southern California?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
By far.
Okay. And you've operated similar operations in other parts of the state, isn't that correct?
Yeah, smaller locations that just kind of set up. They're not year round. They're more set up once a year and then tear down.
Okay.
Home. So I've had probably 100+ locations.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And what year was it that you started?
1996, I started in the pumpkin business.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. And in Yucaipa, what year was that?
I've been there. I think this is my 8th or 9th year.
9th year? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, KTLA Channel 5 visited recently,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that in September?
They came in September, and they also did another thing just like about 2 weeks ago, beginning of October.
That's great.
It came out twice.
Yeah. No, it is certainly a huge, huge deal in all Southern California. We're fortunate to have it here in Yucaipa. It's also an Instagram influencer's dream, right? Mm-hmm. I understand that there are over 15,000 posts on Facebook and Instagram, hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok, which is incredible.
Yeah, we have a couple that are over 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 1 million likes.
Well, speaking of influencers, our very own Ryan Miller, our housing and economic development analyst, went out to the pumpkin patch the other day, and we'd like to, for those who have not been there, we'd like to show just a short little video that show a little bit of what it looks like out there. So let's take a look at that.
Sure.
Got pumpkins here, lots of pumpkins, all kinds of pumpkins. Walking along here, the food area, amazing food, by the way. Is that a bowl? What is that?
Yeah, it's like it's a micro mini.
Micro mini.
I mean, what an amazing event.
I'm not sure who this
and
gentleman is, but he
incredible
had
people.
nothing
and
but good
what
things
about
to
the
say about
city?
the Pumpkin
I mean,
Patch.
you guys are amazing. We appreciate
And
it.
about the city, actually. So just a little bit of footage just to give a little.
Ryan had a short trip.
Yeah,
He was busy that day. He had a lot going on. A lot going on that day. So tell us a little bit about the property. How big is it? How many years has it been in operation?
I think that this year was its 42nd year, Willie. Yeah, 42nd year. It's about approximately 70 acres.
Okay.
20 of that is parking, 40 is devoted to entertainment and farming and the other stuff.
Okay.
And we have about 70 attractions, some paid, some free. I think about 30 free things for kids that you get with your admission.
Wow.
So
what are the most popular things?
Most popular things, petting zoo, number one always.
Yes.
Corn maze.
Yeah.
And then kind of getting into like different rides. And like the train is super popular. We actually have 3 trains now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, to handle the crowds on the weekends. So
my family loves the train.
Yeah, the train's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
very, very cool.
Try and keep that line down because you can only get so many people on it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's true.
That's been that. The train is definitely a hot item. That, and then probably the Ferris wheel.
How many attendees do you get in an average season?
That's proprietary. No, I'm just kidding. We over 300,000.
300,000.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
300,000 people come in here to Yucaipa for an attraction.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course that has a benefit far beyond just the pumpkin patch itself.
Oh, sure. And those folks come from, San Diego's real common. I talk to a lot of people that are from San Diego area, but as far away as Fillmore up north, I've talked to some folks from there in Santa Barbara area.
Okay.
And one of the couples that was from San Diego area, I said, it's a long drive up here. You pass a couple of pretty good, Bates Nut Farm is a big pump. And they go, it's not the same. And I said, it's a long drive. And they said, have you ever gone to SeaWorld? Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
It really is incredible how many opportunities within the site that there are to take family photos, to just experience everything, walk around. You can spend a lot of time in there and never get bored.
Yeah. Right. I put a lot of effort into like the photo ops and stuff and vegetation, because that's what really people like. They want to come there and take a picture with their family, and I have a lot of effort into the photo ops. I mean,
it shows.
Speaking of going there and taking pictures of your family, my family went there recently. In fact, we had a day where you were generous enough to allow the city employees to come, which is, we like to find things that build morale and are team building activities for the city. So it was a phenomenal day for the city. I went there with my family. We have some pictures of that I'd like to show. So there on the left, that's my family. That's my wife, Annie, and our 3-year-old son, Liam, and our 11-month-old daughter, Ellie. And on the far right there's Ellie we were looking at some pumpkins. By the way, that wagon is not ours. We were not buying all of those pumpkins. But I'm going to take you back a little bit. You said that Pumpkin Patch has been in operations for, was it 42 years?
42 years.
42 years. My family, or I have been going for about 23 of those years. The farthest back, I went and looked for old pictures. The farthest back I could find was 2001. That was 23 years ago, but I'm not going to show that picture because there was an ex-girlfriend involved in that picture.
Okay.
So I will show you one from 17 years ago. Okay. This was 2007. Let's take a look at that. Okay, look at that.
Look at that guy.
I know. So that's my mom and my sister. That was pre-beard.
Yeah,
that was me 17 years ago, and we were loading up there with hay and corn. And back in those days, parking just wasn't an issue. You could just go right up front and park and walk right in. And it was more laid back experience than it is now, but not nearly the amount of amenities and fun things to do there. So for my family, the Pumpkin Patch is something we've looked forward to every season for many, many years.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were about 13 there.
Yeah, it looks like it. Let's fast forward to 2017, because this is I don't know, the second or third date I went on with my wife.
On the monkey.
Yeah. And the way I got her to go on this date with me is I told her that there's a monkey there that will sit on your shoulder, and she had to experience this. So we went, and there we are, her with the monkey. Yeah, I've been through the years. We've continued to go every year. Let's see, I think we have some pictures from 2021. That was, our son was just not even a year old. It was about a year old there, and there we are on the train on the left hand side. And
really cute.
Love the train. And then let's see. I think we've got another set of pictures here too. Yeah, this is my daughter Amelia. Just over the years. So it's been a part of our family for a long time. It really is an amazing experience. And incidentally, we don't just go during the fall and Halloween season. We also go during Christmas. We love the train. I've got a picture of that too. I love how you do the train. We take the train out to see Santa Claus.
Sure.
And my son Liam was already asking about that when we arrived this year. He asked if we were going to see Santa Claus, and I told him, well, that's a couple months off, but we'll come back and come back and do that. So you do the fall pumpkin Halloween season. You also do Christmas. What else do you do? I know sometimes you do concerts. What else happens out there?
We did a couple concerts this year, but that's going to be done with. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I think we're just going to stick with what I do best. And that's fall festival. Okay.
So, well, it is, you do it better than anyone else that I've seen.
Thanks. Appreciate it. It's been my whole life.
Well, it shows you. It's amazing. We're happy and lucky to have it here in Yucaipa.
Thank you.
I'd like to bring on Willie Palmer to talk a little bit about the history of the property and the transition there. Okay, well, we are happy to have with us Willie Palmer. Willie, thank you so much for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
I've heard of you for many years. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for getting started what has become such an amazing tradition for my family.
And thank you.
I know so many others as well. So tell us a little bit about the history of the property and your family's history with the property.
Okay. Well, the property was bought by my husband's grandfather. I'm not sure of the year. It was before I came into the picture, and I've been told it was on a handshake deal. And I'm not sure of how many acres the farm is, because all my husband ever said it was a mile square. So it's the property that's along where the pumpkin patch is, but then there's the wash and then the hill and all the property behind it.
Okay.
And so Greg decided to do hay on the front property because nobody was using the property. So when I first started dating him, he was growing hay. Then we got married, and he decided to, in 1980, he planted his first field of Christmas trees. And then in 81 and 82, another field, because it takes 3 years to grow a Monterey pine to be a Christmas tree.
Okay.
1983 was the first year we opened for business selling Christmas trees.
Fantastic.
And then it just got a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And then he added the pumpkin patch. And the reason he added the pumpkin patch is because his mom, Marilyn Palmer, had a friend who was the PTA president at Redlands High School. And she wanted to do a fundraiser. And her idea of a fundraiser was, how about we grow pumpkins on your property and then we'll sell them for the fundraiser. And then we did that, and it was well received. And then he just took it and grew it bigger and bigger and bigger every year.
Interesting.
Yeah. We also did a berry patch for maybe 5 or 6 years, but the weather here was just not compatible to growing
for berries.
Blackberries.
Oh.
But it was really fun, and it did really well. People loved the blackberries.
I bet. Yeah. Very good. So you operated it up until what point?
Greg passed away in March of 2015, and I did it that year, the pumpkin patch and Christmas tree farm that year. It was too hard to do by myself. And so my brother-in-laws were telling me, well, we got to figure out what we're going to do. So what do you think? Can you do it one more year? And I laid in bed one night thinking, I can't do this one more year. Fell asleep, woke up in the middle of the night with a voice in my head that said Chris Rameson. Granted, I I had met you, once?
A couple times.
Yeah, but he knew my husband. He'd come to the farm and visit with Greg. They'd toured the pumpkin patch.
We were friends. Good. You know.
Yeah, Greg and him were friends. So for me to think Chris Rameson, that was not me. That was Greg.
Wow.
So I thought, I don't know how to get a hold of Chris. So I went to a drawer, found his old phone, called Chris Rameson, and then I asked him, would you like to take over the pumpkin patch?
Now, was this in the middle of the night you called him?
No, I called him the next day. I didn't call him that night. I did call him the very next morning, though.
Yeah, it was early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you get this phone call early in the morning.
Yeah, and I was surprised. I mean, it was very flattering because I was friends with Greg. We would exchange notes because I had all my other patches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And how I actually met Greg is I went to Cal Poly in San Luis, and I was a crop science major, and I was a pumpkin farmer. So I was looking for new customers. And so I had come to his patch to see if he wanted to buy extra pump, like when he ran short and stuff.
Ah, okay.
And that's how I originally met him. And my dad was in the family entertainment business, like Camelot Parks and stuff.
Okay.
And so we had added entertainment to the pumpkin patch venue so now that's why they call it agritainment, is because you have entertainment with agriculture. So
fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So kind of a voice or a vision in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And so you must have taken over pretty quickly from that point to be able to get up and running.
Yeah. I mean, I was out the next week. I think I met with.
Yeah, we went for lunch and we made a handshake deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still in effect.
Wow. And have you remained involved with the property?
I still work at the pumpkin.
Is that right?
Yes.
In what capacity?
I work the front entry.
Really?
I'm the supervisor at the front entry.
Yeah.
Wow. That's neat. People can still
It
come
took
and see
3
that.
years for me to be able to go back to the farm, but I'm glad to be there.
Yeah. That's
It
fantastic.
was a huge help. Couldn't do it without her.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do when she decides she's had enough.
I'm never going to have enough. It's my happy place.
Yeah. I can completely understand that. And where do you live now?
I live in Yucaipa on Wildwood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I wouldn't live anywhere else.
I agree.
All my kids have moved away and they keep trying to get me to move. I'm like, why would I leave Yucaipa?
Yeah. Did they move far?
Arkansas, Hawaii,
Oh my gosh.
Texas, but now she's back
Okay.
in Lake Havasu.
Okay. Wow. Really spread out.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to know where to move anyway.
Hawaii.
Oh,
But no, I'm not going anywhere.
It makes for great vacations.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I go to Hawaii twice a year. I go to Arkansas twice a year. And then my daughter in Havasu comes out all the time. So I see my kids all the time.
fantastic. And Tony, when did you first start getting involved with the property?
Actually, the first year that Chris took over,
Okay.
he came down and talked to me about parking.
Yeah.
And that was pretty close to opening season, I guess. Or
Parking and barbecue.
well, we didn't talk about barbecue to start with, but it started out as parking, and then I think the season had already started, and he asked me if we could do barbecue. We had a couple of restaurants in town, and so we kind of moved in. We're one of the early vendors. You know, there were much earlier vendors, the Colemans that were the original vendors, and there were friends of mine, and that whole family. And I remember one of the things that I remember Pat Coleman telling me was him telling Greg that this is going to become a destination. You know, not just a pumpkin patch, but a destination. So
He was right.
I thought that was really neat. You know,
That's what Greg wanted it to be.
It's definitely a destination place. The weekends are people come from far.
Yeah. Yeah.
That 10 freeway runs right into downtown LA. We have huge artery to customers.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And then, then those people don't just go to the pumpkin patch and leave. A lot of them, stay in town. Maybe they stay at the La Quinta Hotel and they eat at restaurants here in Yucaipa. And it's a benefit to the economy of our city all around.
Well, there were a couple of the newer restaurants last year that had just opened, hadn't been through a pumpkin season yet. And then on the busy weekends for about 3 weeks in a row, because of their scheduling and their orders, corporate stores, they ran out of food for 3 weekends in a row and had to close early because didn't have enough product for the extra business was brought in.
Wow. Bet they're not making that mistake this time.
No.
They're trying not to.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Willie, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm
and,
glad to be here.
Yeah, and thank you for all those years of providing that incredible opportunity and experiences for families.
Well, we enjoyed it, and I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk a little bit about how the pumpkin patch has evolved over the years, and as it has grown, it has presented some challenges. It's fantastic to have so many people coming from all over Southern California here to Yucaipa, but then all of a sudden there was a lot of traffic, right? And safety issues to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about, and I know that the city has asked quite a bit of you over the years to help improve that situation, and you have been good enough to accommodate a lot of those requests. And I think we're in a much better place today than we were several years ago. So let's talk a little bit about.
Oh, wait a minute! I thought we accommodated all of those requests.
I don't know. I did ask for a baby goat. No, I'm just kidding.
It's in the truck.
2 of them.
That would make my wife very happy, but I'd have to report that on my financial report.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But maybe Landon, maybe you can lead us through a little bit some of what has been done over the past few years, and specifically as it relates to traffic.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, it's a good thing our engineering department here at the city enjoys challenges. This event is incredible, and coming off of a weekend where a lot of us got to enjoy the Five Winds Country Music Festival, I was just thinking about Yucaipa, how much I love living here, and how great people enjoy being outdoors together, and that's what your facility offers, and it just draws a significant amount of people. So over the years, I think as it's developed and improved and become more popular, we simply have more and more traffic to deal with each year. And so we've been able to partner with their team, work on, anytime any kind of work takes place out in the city right of way, permits needed, and we work through a traffic control plan process that they develop and implement. Our role is a little specific at the city to kind of make sure that plan and those improvements follow the state regulations and requirements for putting cones and flaggers and traffic control devices out to facilitate that traffic coming in and leaving the event. But we've also got a lot of CIP projects that we have planned for, multiple years out in our budget process. And so we've been able to work through completing some of those city improvements in the vicinity of this area that offer some benefits and mitigation for some of the traffic flow that we see seasonally. And also to provide a great improvement for just the citywide traffic improvement, safety enhancements, and to accommodate for future growth in the city. And they've also done some improvements as well on their side in the widening. And so we can talk through some of that individually.
Yeah. So from 2019 through the beginning of 2023, I was living in Yucaipa, but working in the city of Canyon Lake, and I would drive by the pumpkin patch property on Live Oak Canyon Road every day to and from work. Uh-huh. And in the height of pumpkin patch season, mid and late October, I would drive by and traffic would slow down, of course, but I never minded because I loved looking over and seeing it. But I know that for a lot of people, it was an inconvenience. And every season, the city would get a lot of phone calls and complaints and concerns about the traffic impacts. But every year from at least 2019 to 2022, 2023, it seemed to me it got a little bit better, even though I'm sure attendance was increasing during those times. And I think one of the things that really helped was, now that intersection that's in there. In fact, we have some before and after images of that. Let's take a look.
Yes, so this intersection here is Live Oak Canyon Road with Outer Highway 10 South. So we've got 2 images on the screen here. The one to the left shows a picture from before those intersection improvements went in. You can see we've got 2 lanes of traffic, one heading away from the pumpkin patch toward the freeway and through this intersection. Before these improvements that were completed as a part of the city capital improvement program, the CIP as we call it, this approach on Outer Highway as you get to Live Oak Canyon Road was the only controlled leg of the intersection. So we just have one stop sign, and those people had to make that judgment call. And in different times of the day, it was trickier to see with people driving through there, whether they could get out and turn onto Live Oak Canyon Road. And so our CIP has had planned the ultimate improvements for this intersection, which included the widening of the different approaches to the intersection, that future extension of the street that goes into the pumpkin patch there. So the photo on the right shows the after the project was completed. So the widening allowed for, from that one lane leaving the pumpkin patch going to the freeway. You have 3 lanes there, the dedicated left turn lanes at each leg. Of course, we were able to work with SCE, get a meter and get a traffic signal installed. So every single approach to this intersection and leaving it is controlled with a traffic signal and a crosswalk, which, as you can see on the left, there was no crosswalk at that point in time. It's a little hard to tell from the photos, but there were a pretty significant amount of utility relocations that needed to take place to accommodate these improvements, and that's always a pretty heavy lift on the engineering planning side to work with the utility agencies and get all that completed. So yeah, we ended up getting this improved in just before one of the busy seasons and got that in place. And this is one example of one of the city's projects that's happened that has allowed the pumpkin patch to make some adjustments to their permit, their traffic control plan, to get more lanes coming to and from the facility. And now that exit that's at this intersection is controlled with the light, and they're able to really get a lot of people out of that main parking area right adjacent to the main site there much quickly out onto I-10. And so this is a good example of a city project that we're able to complete to really make some changes out there to give more options for their operations.
You can see, it's almost twice as wide as it was before, and that's had a significant impact on being able to bring 2 lanes of traffic, left turn lanes, into the pumpkin patch during season. It still requires, a major traffic control plan that Landon is very fortunate to get to work with me on every year. I know he feels that way. But we do really appreciate Landon and engineering and the city as a whole and everything that they do for us. And it's a challenge, but every year we try to learn from what we've done the year before and work with PD on this too. And Ryan Ford is the sergeant who's worked with us the last couple of years, and he's a phenomenal guy that really, really makes a difference for us with the help we receive from PD. And one of the, just in general, I think in the last 3 years, especially 2 years, definitely, and to a major extent, we've been able to cut down the times and almost completely eliminate any backups on the off ramp from the freeway that we had in the past during those busiest times. So, adding the additional width to Live Oak Canyon really gave us the ability to move those cars in, and then the additional parking we picked up on down the road. So those things are really important and really have cut the traffic times. And I know the neighbors down the canyon, for the by and far, were just amazed how much of an improvement it's been. And it wasn't uncommon, as you know, traveling through there in the evenings to be stuck on that bridge for 15 minutes plus during the peak times.
Very
and it's
true.
just a matter of logistics and moving those cars into the site for parking. And again, we're really fortunate to get so many people that want to come to Yucaipa for something.
Yes.
And there's a real opportunity there for, like Chris had said, for working with some of the other, with Oak Glen for one, which isn't actually in the city of Yucaipa, but the great thing about it is everyone who travels to Oak Glen runs through the city of Yucaipa,
Right.
and has the opportunity to spend money inside of our town. And so that's an 8-mile trek from this same point, which has become the most used access to Oak Glen is Live Oak Canyon or Oak Glen Road. So that's a huge thing for the city. And with the additional development that's planned on Oak Glen Road, I think you're going to see an increase in that. I know one of my friends owned the fruit stand or the vegetable stand on the boulevard. And when Live Oak Canyon was completed, it killed his fall season. He had a huge number of customers that would come past him going to Oak Glen. And just opening the overpass and the off ramps and improvements that were made there, it cut down so much of his traffic. He lost that part of his business. So, you know, with the good comes the bad. Now there's a lot more reason to get off on Yucaipa Boulevard than there was before with the amenities that are there. But Oak Glen's also still said between the pumpkin patch and this. And I think some of the new development that we see that's coming up with an additional hotel and a couple more restaurants and stuff right there at Oak Glen Road, it's really going to be an advantage. And I think there's some real opportunity with bringing people through Yucaipa and past some of those businesses for future revenues to the city.
Absolutely.
That's really important.
No, agreed.
And you touched on it, Tony. I think just want to point it out again. A lot of times in our department in engineering, public works, the traffic control process of getting plans implemented is a little bit dry. Our approach has been a little bit more collaborative. I know your team's been really creative, and the input every year we learn something new. We see the crowds change a little bit. Traffic mood's different, and
we've tried some things in the past that didn't work very well. Right?
people don't always follow the signs and the cones, right?
No.
But the input from PD and even fire, just making sure we have one lane moving at all times for emergency operations. That's been a priority. Yeah. And I appreciate your collaborative approach and just working.
Yeah, and I think we've really been able to achieve that in the last couple of years. That it's really allowed us to get in there.
I think a lot of people don't have any concept of how much work goes into, planning for things like traffic and safety, and how much work has been done over the years to improve that situation. And my gosh, what a huge improvement! But I drive by there now. I haven't been slowed down. I haven't experienced backup. I realized, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. I have not personally received one complaint this season, and as we sit here today filming this episode on October 15th, right? I mean, we're in the thick of the season now. It may get busier. I'm sure it'll get busier as we get
you meant you hadn't received one for the pumpkin patch show.
I receive complaints all the time, mostly from my wife. But no complaints about traffic related to the pumpkin patch, and not that there won't be. I'm sure there will be days and times where there is some level of backup. But to be at this point in the season, and to not be constantly reading on social media that people are upset, and to not get a steady flow of phone calls to City Hall complaining, that is drastic improvement.
Yeah. Well, and that's. One of the things that's really hard to control is, like, we've had a lot of warm days this year. So the warm days, people tend not to want to get out early.
Get the flannels on and take photos.
As soon as the sun goes down, everybody
we call it sunset rush.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
you don't know. You don't know whether it's going to hit today. You don't know. And so you have to be prepared for it. And so you bring in a large crew. But then when it hits, everyone decided to go at the same time.
Yeah, that's great.
And so you do get a little backup at those times, but I've been really happy with how well it's been able to traffic's been able to flow overall. Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. We have a drone flyover video that we'd like to show. And so this is on the 10 freeway heading east, getting off the freeway on the off ramp.
Everybody going to Oak Glen to the left.
Yep. And so you're coming up here off the off ramp towards Live Oak Canyon Road, and we're going to make a right here onto Oak Glen or Live Oak Canyon Road.
There's the new traffic signal.
Yeah, there's the new traffic signal.
Some of the temporary traffic control being implemented there.
Now we're on Outer Highway, approaching Live Oak Canyon and the pumpkin patch.
Now you got that left turn lane.
I'm impressed. This is high tech stuff.
I thought I saw a drone out there.
But I mean, there's the intersection there. Now, this was taken on a Thursday at about 5:30. Pumpkin patch opens at 4:00. So
there you can see the two left turn lanes.
So you see people lined up to turn into the pumpkin patch, but otherwise traffic is flowing freely.
Yeah. And it's a real coordination with the traffic control guys too, to keep everything moving and not block the the through traffic that's coming through.
Yeah, and
they do a
plan-
great job.
Your plan also includes that partnership with PD where they have deputies out helping with
Yeah.
enforcement and making sure that everything's running smooth with the signal. And
Absolutely. Let's talk about, I know you've also worked on the site itself, quite a bit of improvements on site. And some of that is related to health and safety issues to make sure that everyone has a safe experience when they're at the pumpkin patch. Let's talk about that a little bit. What work has been done and is being done out there?
Well, we've put pathways throughout the whole farm for ADA, wheelchairs, strollers with DG. So that's been a huge, it's a little bit dustier, but we try and keep it all under control. We've got new bathrooms that aren't porta potties.
Those are nice. I saw those.
Yes. So that's been a huge improvement.
My wife
too.
was very happy about those.
Yeah.
All the girls are.
It's it's 5 ladies bathrooms to 1 men's, and there's
Really?
still a line. We actually have porta potties there also just in case, and they would rather wait in line for the new bathrooms than go to those porta potties.
I can understand.
Well, one of the challenges has been really is, it's more than tripled in volume in the last, since Chris has taken over.
Yeah.
And so just trying to get the number of people in and out and provide facilities for them and also access, all those things that we've worked with the city on the ADA requirements. And there's a lot, and it continues, it's every year. The traffic may seem like it's less, but the volumes are really up, and it's bringing in additional entertainment and, whether it's attractions or rides. And Chris just does a great job of entertaining people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of it. I know, a lot of people in Yucaipa say, "Oh, it's too busy. I don't go there anymore," or "I don't want to go there because it's too crowded." Well, there's a lot of opportunity for people to come during the week, reduce prices, or even days when folks can come where.
Sure, like our free local days, with wristbands. We do all kinds of promotions to get people to come during the week because we have excess capacity during the week. So,
Right.
And
I encourage people to come during the week.
Yeah.
Why do you want to come on the weekend?
Right.
Unless you live in
just
San Diego.
It's more expensive because we have more buses, more traffic control, more employees. I mean, that's why the cost is higher. Like that stuff is not cheap.
You must spend a fortune on security.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about what that security looks like.
Well, on the weekends, we have all the sheriffs, and they come into the lot. They're also outside. They'll patrol inside, but then we also have a private security team inside that, ranges just from 8 to 15 guys. And that's in addition to the sheriff's department. So,
wow.
And the sheriff's department, I always get comments that, well, you guys tie up a lot of the sheriff's department. And actually, as you know, that's not a free service that's offered to the pumpkin patch.
right.
The pumpkin patch pays for sheriffs present on site and off site during season. And it's a significant cost for that. But that's a great thing. So, and a lot of those deputies are not deputies that are necessarily working out of the Yucaipa station. Every year we have a couple of folks that come from Rancho. That's their normal spot. And so that it's put out, and if someone wants to sign up to work, then they're able to get on a shift out there. So,
and also if there is an incident like in town, which does happen, the cops are at our place, they are able to leave to do backup and assist with local things.
No, it's good to have the extra
It
deputies
is.
here in town.
And it does happen.
With the fires this year, that they were pulled off a couple of times because they needed additional help on was it the line fire, I think it's called?
Yes. Yeah.
And so they were pulled off on nights for that. So yeah, that's one of the benefits. It does bring additional deputies in town if there is anything goes on. And then this year, metal detectors, sign of the times were added.
Yeah.
I noticed that. Yeah.
That's new to us.
And
It's a family place, but we want to make sure everyone's safe too.
Well, with so many people coming in from out of the area too, it just, it makes sense to be safe.
But, it's just such a good environment and people enjoy themselves so much. And out of all the amusement facilities you can go to in Southern California, this is one of the only ones that still has natural ground. You're not on a paved surface or a concrete surface, and there's trees, and the entertainment's very, we're used to a lot of gore and fun for Halloween on that, and that's something a lot of people. But this is just real wholesome fun.
Singing chickens.
Yeah, I try not to get
singing chickens.
Right.
Exactly.
Try not to do very much gore. Very limited.
Yeah.
The shooting pumpkins.
Because
how long
you're
is
dealing
that?
with little kids.
Yeah.
Little kids do not like.
Yeah.
They don't need that.
No, you're right.
And that's one of I think people are attracted to the more natural farm type atmosphere that you get there.
Yeah.
So it just has a better, and we've talked about this before when you guys have been there, but it's just it's a great feel inside. And I know I've gotten a lot of comments from local folks that I know that hadn't been out there for a few years. Some of them 5 or 6 years came in and can't believe what it is.
Yeah. Well, one of the earlier conversations on the topic of the pumpkin patch that I had when I started here was about the parking lot. And there was some discussion in the past about maybe the entire parking lot should be paved.
Right.
And my initial thought was, well, that's going to take away from the experience. People go there to get off of pavement. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But that has to be something that you're taking into consideration when you think about future growth, right? How do you, as you continue to grow the operation, into something much bigger, how do you do that and at the same time hold on to what makes it special and avoid things like paving everything over? It's a challenge because there are state building code requirements that have to be met, but you need to balance those things with wanting to keep the ambiance, right?
Rules need to be broken. No, I'm just kidding. When I have to pave the parking lot, I'll be moving.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
It's really, one of the wineries, for instance, down the Temecula Alley, the majority of the older wineries that still pull in a lot, I would say a couple of them that I'm aware of pull in a huge amount of the business down there. They're still on gravel parking lots and for the most part unpaved. And
You're right. Yeah.
And that's part of the experience there is walking down those rows of grapes and experiencing, that connection that we all have to the earth that we don't get that much anymore.
Yeah.
Sitting at home on your
Devices.
phone or on your device, and it's just a real important thing for kids to do, to get out and actually experience that feel. And I think most people don't even realize what they're feeling, but it just feels good.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you think about just taking someone and dropping them in there, taking the blindfold off. I don't think many people would guess that's Southern California.
Yeah.
Right.
It just has that natural feel that it feels like you're somewhere else. It feels, Central California or even further away. So it's got that kind of vibe that you just feel like you got away.
And I think that's the challenge, like you said, going forward is how do you balance the additional growth, meet those requirements and those codes. And that's what we really appreciate about the city of Yucaipa and you folks in particular is, the willingness to work with us on those things and to keep it, to keep that vibe and that feel and that country feel, because I think that's something that's lost. I know there's a lot of social media posts right now that said, why isn't it free? I loved it when it was free. and I'm an old guy now, so I'm kind of the same way about Knott's Berry Farm. When I first moved out here as a kid, Knott's Berry Farm was free.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The only, you had to pay for the train ride and you had to pay to shoot the bow and arrow, but the entire Knott's Berry Farm was a free attraction.
Wow.
And that was in the 60s. So I think it was in 1968 or 1969 that they started charging.
Interesting.
And
So speaking of Knott's Berry Farm, what is your plan? What are your thoughts for the future of the property, the future of the pumpkin patch?
Obviously that would be a great goal to have, is to turn it into a Knott's Berry Farm sort of thing.
Just not paved.
Just not paved.
Yes.
All right. So, but whatever happens, over time, I don't know. I have goals and stuff, but I
think those are kind of organic things too. That's a hard jump from a seasonal thing to now every day.
Yeah. Well, over the past few months, there's been a lot of discussion about changes to the zoning in that area, not just your property, but, in that whole freeway corridor area.
Really?
Yeah. You notice that. And I think that's one of the things that has been a topic of discussion and a area of frustration at times is, the city asking you, okay, well, what's the plan? What is this ultimately going to be? Right. So we can plan for that. And what we've heard back when I think we've finally gotten through our thick skulls is, it's impossible to say exactly at this point, what 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now might be there, right? What might be possible. And we can plan for next year or a couple of years, kind of the shorter term goals, but there is kind of an organic element to it that you have to see, where things go, what people want, what develops naturally, and have the flexibility to adapt to that.
Well, and surrounding development too is going to play a big role in that too, and what's available for expansion and stuff. Because long term, to do something like that would definitely require more real estate, to support the parking and those other things. Until we start doing subterranean,
and there are some other longer term CIP projects, the crossing at the creek on Live Oak there. That's ultimately, it's in design right now. We're going through that Caltrans process through the Highway Bridge Program to widen that to 4 lanes to accommodate the future development in that area.
That's exciting stuff, because that'll allow us to pull from our more outlying parking areas, and have even less impact on the street. Because right now on a busy weekend, we're running up to 12 full-size buses.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so that's just that added traffic in conjunction with the rest, makes a difference. So that's why with the bridge widening, and that'll give us an additional lane that extends on down, and then there's a signal planned further down past the bridge. So that'll open up both pedestrian traffic that's a lot safer than it is now. That's a constant struggle, is trying to keep folks from walking because they get a little frustrated. They don't want to wait for a bus. Landon's one of those guys that wouldn't wait for a bus.
I like to move. I do.
And so with those improvements, I think it's going to have a great impact on this.
Yeah, we've even got the I-10 Wildwood Canyon Road interchange that we're working through that design process that ultimately will hopefully be constructed and offer up a whole different range of options for people to get off the freeway and get into town, and also to access that whole freeway corridor area. So there's
a potential there, in the future for access off of that side, which, we're all going to need. I think, long-term, said, it's just one of those things. We finally beat on you long enough to to know that it's just impossible, and you don't want to be in a position where you make some major change and not be successful at it. So,
but it finally got through.
Got through there. I don't know if it got through. You just got tired of listening to me.
That's hard for planners, right?
Oh, it is. It is.
We want to know what it's going to be. We want to know how to label it. Right. And know how to study it. Right. So uncertainty is difficult.
But. No, it is. It is. But no, we appreciate everything that's happening in the area, and we all know there's going to be a lot of additional development in that freeway corridor section in the next 20 years. And I'll be sitting someplace looking at you guys going, good luck.
We'll be calling you, Tony, help.
Sorry, I'm fishing right now. I'll call you back.
Well, in my mind, it's a tremendous amenity in the community, something that most other cities can't offer.
Yeah.
And it really is something that I think in many ways puts Yucaipa on the map. Very often when I'm talking with people, I run into someone at a conference from a different part of the state, and I tell them I work in Yucaipa. Very often they bring up the pumpkin patch. Oh, yeah. I've been to that pumpkin patch.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's amazing. I've run into people in Connecticut when one of my daughters was living in Connecticut. Was talking to them, and they asked where I was from, and I said Yucaipa, and they go, "Do you know where the pumpkin patch is?"
You said, "I've been there once or twice."
Been there once or twice. And Chris's brother Tyler was just up in, what was it, Minnesota, right?
Michigan, Mackinac,
and ran into some Yucaipa folks.
Is that right?
And they said, "Oh, do you know where the pumpkin patch is?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've been there."
Well, I want to really thank you guys for being here today. I think it's a neat opportunity for people to see and hear from an owner of the pumpkin patch that they all drive by, and the people who operate
and some other guy
and some other guy. Now the people who now they know who to blame.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Traffic goes to them.
The number's not going to be on the screen. What, my phone number? Yeah.
Maybe your social security number.
Yeah, most people in town know who I am. So,
yes, you've been around.
Probably
how long have you been in Yucaipa?
I've been here 42 years.
Is that all?
My wife was born and raised here. So,
Fantastic.
Her family's been here since, I think, 51 or 52, and then Willie said she didn't know what year the Palmers bought the property, but David, one of the brothers, had told me that his grandfather bought it in 55.
Wow.
It was actually, when they say the section, that was including the Robinsons' property and the Palmers, which was bought together and added to, and they were partners for something like 5 years before they split up property. And
wow.
And so that pretty much encompasses most of the freeway corridor that we know now.
Right.
And, but yeah, 1955 is when the family originally
almost
bought that
70
property.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty incredible.
Very incredible.
And then for a business to withstand the ups and downs over the last 42 years is pretty incredible too.
Absolutely.
That's been built.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful to be part of it. I think it's a great experience for people, and I think, it. And I ask everybody in Yucaipa, come give it a try again during the week when it's not so busy.
Yeah,
check the website. There's always specials going on, and last night was a wristband night, so you get a wristband ride all the rides, no admission fees. So, and that's continuing, isn't it? All through
every weekday.
Every weekday. So,
and you'll probably see a teenager from Yucaipa there too that you might recognize. We have 700 hired.
It's incredible how many people in town that have worked at the pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I bet
over the years.
Well, had I grown up in town, I would definitely have wanted to be in that category.
Yes.
I would have loved to spend my time there working there. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having Willie.
Yeah. Yes. No, Chris, Tony, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. Just a reminder for everyone, November 5th is Election Day, big election nationwide, but especially here in the city of Yucaipa. We have Measure S on the ballot. We have a number of city council seats on the ballot. It's a big deal here in the city this year. And enjoy the Halloween season.
Yes.
Thank you. What do you guys do for Halloween? Do you have Halloween traditions?
Go to bed.
I bet
right after it closes. Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's pretty much that long winter's nap starts early for us.
No, I bet. I bet. Landon, you have kids. What would
I do? Yeah, my wife and I live here in town. We've been here about 6 years. We have 3 boys, 10, 8, and 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we love Halloween. My birthday's on the 27th, so it's always fun to celebrate that and have costume parties usually around that time. So we get into that.
And Landon and Chris are from the same alma mater.
We got to talk some more stories. Sure. We're both fellow Mustangs. We run wild.
Landon used to surf Hamala Beach.
Yeah, Halama Beach was a special spot for my wife. Grew up there going with her family, and then when we were up there at San Luis Obispo, we used to go down there a lot and camp. So it's a really neat spot.
Yeah. No, I grew up on Haloma Road. It's awesome.
Is that right?
Yeah. My mom still lives there. They have 100 acres up there.
That's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my daughter actually lives in St. Louis now. She's going to Cuesta trying to get into Cal Poly.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it up there.
Well, thank you, guys.
Like you, Landon, I have small children, as you saw in the photos earlier. So Halloween's a big deal in our house. We decorate the place, watch the classics like it's a great pumpkin show. But there's a lot of great things to do here in Yucaipa. In addition to the pumpkin patch, there's a really phenomenal haunted house on Yucaipa Boulevard. Black Casket Productions. This year they're calling it the Hell's Gate Hotel. Oh, here we go. There's the sign on the left. When you walk in, the picture on the right here we're looking at, it looks like you're checking into a hotel. And that's the theme this year. It's a Hell's Gate Hotel. So you walk in and that gentleman checks you in. It's very, very spooky. It's pretty scary. But we actually had a staff night there a few weeks ago, and we did pizza in the parking lot. We had Fire Pizza. They used to have a location on the boulevard up in Uptown up until COVID started, and now they do catering. And it's phenomenal. And but the haunted house was really good. If you have a chance to check it out, really good. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. And please join us in 2 weeks for episode number 5, which actually drops on November 5th, which is Election Day.
All righty.
All right. So
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And everyone have a fun,
guys.
safe, and very happy Halloween.
You
Thank
too.
you. Happy
Thank you.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.